Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to show you guys how to do a replacement of a valve cover with the valve cover gasket on a 2011 X5 E70 N55 engine. So what we have to first do is remove all this plastic stuff, which is, the plastic covers and all the plastic and the air box that's mounted here. And this tubing as well, just to make everything nice and straight. What we want to do is get into this area here. Okay guys, so we want to remove these plastic covers here. What we want to do is just loosen up the 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Loosen them up and you can remove this panel here. So I went ahead and loosened them up already. And all you got to do is pull up, just like so. And it's a little awkward doing it with one hand. Just like that. Same thing on the other side. Loosen up 4 bolts. And it comes right out. So what we want to do is remove this box here. It's got some plastic bolts as well. 1 here and 2 in those 2 areas. So, and that's also 13 mil. Let's go ahead and remove those. Okay guys, so we have those bolts loosened up, the plastic 3 bolts. All we have to do is lift up and pull out. And this is pretty much the cabin air filter. Before we pull it out, we want to also remove this small tab here. This tab, it's got a, I guess it's the sensor for the, cabin air filter. Just like that. Once that's removed, then we can lift up and remove the cabin air filter housing. Okay, and just like that, you remove it. You can see the bottom half. It's the cabin air filter. It's got that seal. So now what we have next is some T25 torque screws. Okay guys, so I went ahead and removed the torque screws on this left side. 1, 2, 3. And we have the 10 mil bolt right here. This is also holding that this black panel right here. Oh, what I forgot to mention is there's some small black tabs on these corners. You gotta pull it out of the way, and that'll loosen. Same thing with the other side. Small little black tab right in the corner. It's not really on there hard at all. You just gotta move it, lift up, and pull out. And that's how that piece comes out. So you wanna pull upward. That should pull this plastic panel off. So the next step is going to be to remove the air box. You just pull it off as one unit. Next, what we're going to do is remove these wires here. These plastic clips, there's a total of 3 of them. They're holding in with a metal bracket that's on the airbox, so we gotta remove those. And to remove this airbox, there's a clip right down here that's holding the box, and there is two other ones on the back. So all we have to do is pull up, and it's gonna make a popping sound just like that. This back one is gonna be a little tougher because it's got two of them. Snap once and one more, and there we go. What we have to do is remove this air inlet tube. So we're gonna pull that, and mind that there's a connection back here. We have to disconnect that. We want to use a pick tool to unplug that, and we can remove it from here. And we're going to remove these hoses. All you got to do is pinch these hoses as well, pinch them together and pull upward. Next step is going to be to remove this plastic housing that's holding the wires down. T25 is right on the top. There's two bolts on this side, but in order for us to get to that, what we want to do is slide this track to the side. You should be able to get the top off. The bottom doesn't come off so easy. You can see there's some T25 screws. There's one right there, and there's another one a little more hidden back there. Piece out just like that. This thing was inside of there, and that's what was holding it down. Once it's pulled, then that's the way it comes off. Next step's gonna be to remove this here, undo it here, and then these screws, and then that hose clamp way down there, if you can see that. Okay guys, so I just removed the inlet that was right here. All you have to do is remove the bolt that's here. It's a 10 mil, and there's a hose clamp that's holding on to, I don't know if you guys can see, there is a small inlet tube here. It just connects to that. So you just pull it off. That way you can get to some of these side bolts down here when you're removing the valve cover. And if you see mine was leaking oil. You can see the oil there. That's oil residue there. Usually for the X5, the valve cover, when it starts leaking and you can't see any oil in the front, sometimes when it leaks in the front, you have to replace the gaskets here and over here on this side when you have a lot of excess oil buildup from dripping oil in the front. If you don't have any oil leaking in the front and you can't see it's dirty with oil, and you look on the side and you notice it a little dark on this little shield, metal shield, then you have a bad valve cover gasket, and you need to replace it. And in my case, mine is howling like a small little bird or chipmunk. PCV valve is bad, and from what I've done to diagnose it, when the car is running, you open the oil cap and the noise goes away. You notice a lot of suction when opening the oil cap as well, and the sound comes from in this area. Now what we're going to do is remove some of this wiring, so unplug some of these. These are the O2 sensors, and some of these wires here, and we can start unplugging and removing some of these spark plugs and the coil packs and the wiring that's attached here. So I'm going to get that removed and I'll come back. I've actually removed quite a few things. I actually removed the coil packs. I removed the wires. So simple here, all you have to pretty much do is there's a screw here that this screw or this nut is holding down the ground wire. So you have to remove that and remove the ground wire on each and every section. And that ground wire is this little wire here. This all comes out. It just snaps in to the small little railing. The front of it, all you got to do is click this part right here and it'll pop right off. And obviously you just unplug your connectors from your coil packs and you unplug these small connectors. Noticing some of the oil here that was starting to leak. Maybe if I shine a little less light here, there we go. It looks better. This one's fine. I didn't notice any oil inside the spark plugs when I had removed and replaced those, so I knew there wasn't an issue there. But I did notice that there was oil leaking. The next thing I'm ready to do now is to remove these fuel lines. So I'm going to get started on that. Okay guys, so I got the valve cover crankcase removed. What I'm going to do next is go ahead and just clean up the sections where all the edges where the gasket will be touching, and clean it up good and put the new crankcase cover on it. Yeah, I did have to remove the one of these support bars that's in the front just for better clearance. I really didn't have to because it looked like it had plenty of space, but I removed it just in case. On my crankcase, this piece here was on the top of the crankcase. It was covering one of the bolts as well, so I don't know, this looks like a little weight. It's not magnetic, it's nothing. I have no idea what this is for, but I'm gonna put it on the new one. So I was pretty careful to remove the case, and a lot of people say they break this because they probably pull it off and twisted it. When I removed mine, all I did was I lifted up and then I kind of twisted towards the driver's side and then just kind of slipped it out this way like this. So that may be something you need to do. Lift up, twist sideways, and then up and out. It took some wiggling. It didn't come off right away, so be patient with it. And yeah, so I'm gonna put the other one back on and I'll show you what that looks like once it's done. Alright, so okay guys, so what I've done is I've cleaned all the sections around where the gaskets go. So around the 3 sections here, here and there, as much as I could. What I did is there was like caked on oil and it was kind of burnt on some of the edges and stuff. If you can see the edges as well, the sides cleaned up. I did as much as I could in the back and on these sides. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. You can use a microfiber rag, so you can clean up some of that with some carb cleaner, and whatever doesn't come off, you can have maybe like a Scotch guard or like a small type of steel wool material to just scrub a little and then use a microfiber to pick up any excess material or anything that's left over. What I noticed on some of these metals here, I don't know what this is, but it's actually, the metal's cracked. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the material, the metal material it's cracked. I've actually touched it, and it's rough. It's actually rough, so it's not something like where it's just oil that's or it's dirty. No, it's not at all. So anyways, just wanted to show. Okay guys, so this is where I'm at now. I'm putting stuff back together. So I just got the new valve cover back on. It took some patience and some wiggling and, you know, being very careful not to break anything. There's a small metal piece that a lot of people say they break, which is this piece here. You got to be very careful because it like sticks out if you notice it. So you got to be very careful when putting it back in. Anyway, got everything put back on. I just hand tightened all the bolts. I did a little at a time so I can make sure that they all went in smoothly. And I got to put some of these vacuum hoses back on these corners here, and start tightening it. I believe it's recommended about 15 foot-pounds. I'm going to do a zigzag. I'm going to start probably in this section here and jump to a bolt here and here, here and here. I didn't have very much trouble putting the case back on with the fuel rail there. What you have to keep in mind is when you're putting it in, for example, this is the flashlight is the cover. You got to start in an angle like this and then dip in the bottom, start wiggling, turn it, and then once it's set like this, then you gotta you have to flip it over this way and then it sets down. It takes a little movement, but you should get it if you're doing it. I didn't have any problem. Okay guys, and as we're working backwards now, putting all the stuff back. So the next thing that I put back right now is the fuel lines. You can see that I got them all on. I went ahead and tightened them nice and snug. And that's the next thing that needed to be done. Now after this, I'm going to go ahead and put all the wiring that goes here along the side for and the coil packs, and I'll show you that in just a bit. Okay guys, so I just finished plugging in some of the wiring. I plugged in all the coil packs and made sure I tightened up and grounded them. Plugged back in the injectors on all of them and plugged this wire back in. It was hanging over in this area. Plug that wire in. The vacuum hoses are plugged in here. The O2 sensors, bank 1 and 2. The gray one is to that side and the black one to this side. Okay, next step that's done. I already put back this inlet here for the air box, and I've finally finished putting everything back together. Hopefully if you got to the breaking down part, you'll be able to remember how to piece it all back together. Anyway, I hope this helps some of you guys out there. I know there hasn't been too many videos out there for this particular model. Once again, this is a 2011 BMW X5, and that's the X35i, and it's the E70 N55 engine. So if you have this particular model, that's how you do that repair. Well, thanks guys. I hope you guys like and subscribe.